Nigeria is a land of colorful diversity, where several ethnically distinct states unite under a single flag. From Lagos and Delta State in the south to Kano in the north and Benue in the middle belt. Each and every one of the 36 states of the country contributes its own quota to the nation's revenue. Behind this revenue collection is an intricate financial system that underpins everything. A network of taxes, revenues, allocations and negotiations that decides which roads and schools get built, which hospitals get staffed, and which dreams gets funded. But how does this system truly work? How do the 36 states in all their complexity feed into the federal government's purse? Why do some regions hold the spotlight for their wealth while others remain obscure, yet indispensable to the national budget? Most importantly, how do these fiscal dynamics impact the lives of everyday Nigerians? Stay with us and prepare to see Nigeria from a whole new vantage point as we look into the evolution of Nigeria's fiscal model. To grasp how Nigerian states contribute to the federal government's purse, we must first understand the foundational framework that binds the nation's finances together, Nigeria's federal system. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria grants certain powers to the central government and others to the states. Broadly, the federal government oversees issues like defense, foreign affairs, and nationwide revenue collection. Big-ticket taxes such as custom duties, petroleum profits tax, and value-added tax. States, on the other hand, manage localized areas like schools, hospitals, and internal roads while generating revenue through various state-level taxes and levies. However, the relationship between states and the federal government is rarely a one-way street. Taxes and revenues collected at the federal level often flow back to states through fiscal transfers and allocations. In essence, the federal government holds the key to the national treasury, while the states supply a large chunk of the resources that fill it. Nigeria's financial structure might be centralized, but the money that flows into the federal government's account originates from various states, and each state brings something different to the table. Number 1. Oil and gas revenue. When people think about Nigeria's wealth, they often think about oil. Crude oil and natural gas, predominantly located in the Niger Delta region, Rivers, Delta, Bayelsa, Akwa Ibom, and a few others, remain the backbone of Nigeria's revenue. Through royalties, petroleum profit tax, and other levies, the petroleum sector contributes a significant portion of the federal government's total earnings. Under the derivation principle enshrined in the 1999 Constitution, oil-producing states receive 13% of the revenue derived from their territory back from the federal port. Even so, a large chunk of oil money remains with the federal government. Non-oil states do not directly benefit from the 13% derivation rule, but they do receive federal allocations from the remaining oil revenue. This means that states like Kano, Kaduna, and Enugu also benefit from Rivers and Bayelsa's resources, fostering unity, but also fueling debates about equity. Number 2. Value-added tax, VAT. One less discussed but hugely significant contributor to the federal purse is the value-added tax. VAT is collected on goods and services across the country, and it is administered by the Federal Inland Revenue Services, the FIRS. Typically, a percentage of collected VAT goes to the federal government, another portion to the states, and the rest to the local governments. Lagos, being Nigeria's foremost commercial hub, generates a considerable chunk of the country's VAT receipts due to its large economy. However, this doesn't mean Lagos keeps it all. Under current formulas, the bulk is pooled and then redistributed. Number 3. Company income tax and other federal taxes. Companies registered in Nigeria pay company income tax, CIT, which is also collected at the federal level. Major corporate headquarters often sit in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. That presence alone shapes where taxes are paid, even if the actual economic activity happens in different regions. Beyond CIT, there are other levies, custom duties, excise taxes, and stamp duties that flow into the treasury. States that host key international airports, seaports, and border crossings like Lagos, Cross River, and Delta boost federal revenue collection through import and export taxes. Number 4. Internally generated revenue, IGR, at the state level. While internally generated revenue doesn't always go directly to the federal purse, it's crucial for states to thrive independently. A strong IGR often correlates with the economic vibrancy of a state, which in turn can increase the state's overall contribution to national GDP and by extension, the federal pot. States like Lagos, Ogun, and Rivers often top the charts in IGR due to their robust commercial industries and access to critical ports. When the local businesses in these states thrive, federal taxes from those businesses rise. Hence, an uptick in the state's local economy can translate to a higher contribution to the central account through taxes. Once these revenues aggregate in Abuja, the question becomes, how does the federal government share the so-called national cake with the states and local governments? Here is where the Federation Account Allocation Committee comes in. The committee consists of representatives from all states, the federal government, and financial bodies, and they meet monthly to decide on each state's and local government's allocations, using criteria such as population size, social development needs, internally generated revenue efforts, and of course, the 13% derivation principle. Although the revenue flow seems straightforward, states generate income, the federal government collects it and then returns a share to the states. The reality, however, is more intricate and fraught with controversies. One point of contention that has long stood is Nigeria's over-reliance on oil. Despite efforts to diversify, oil remains Nigeria's top source of foreign exchange and a significant contributor to the federal purse. When global oil prices fluctuate, it sends ripples across every state budget. Another is the legal battles over VAT collection. States like Lagos and Rivers have led the charge in questioning the constitutionality of the federal VAT collection. They argue that states, not the federal centers, should handle VAT collected within their jurisdiction. Oil-producing states also often claim that the allocation formula doesn't reflect their contributions or needs, and some have advocated for a review of the sharing formula, particularly the 13% rule. It's clear that the contribution of Nigerian states to the federal government's purse is more than just numbers and spreadsheets. It's an evolving experiment in unity, a belief that diverse regions, each brimming with unique potentials, can form something greater than the sum of their parts. If there is one takeaway, it's this. When the nation's funds are equitably collected and honestly spent, every Nigerian gains. The roads are smoother, the schools get better, and healthcare becomes more accessible. But the harsh reality is that many Nigerian states are still distant from such a future. Corruption at every level of government continues to drain the nation's coffers without citizens seeing lasting development or change. What do you think about this video? Let us know in the comments. If you found it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, thank you for watching.